We are ready.
All right. Hi, Georgie.
Hi, how's it going, Halen?
It's going great. It's a beautiful Thursday. Well, actually, it's raining here,
Is
but
it?
it's
That's
still
nice
pretty
here.
cool.
And we have awesome stuff to, I hope, enlighten people with about nutrition.
Well, the pressure's on you.
Pressure's on me.
Cool. Let's launch into it. We're going to try and get to two today.
Okay.
First one. So we take our approach to coaching is skills-based, right? Not rules-based,
Yeah.
which is typical for most diets. My experience with a number of clients, especially those I've done a bunch of diets before, is to try and take what I'll call guidelines, things we want to practice, and turn them into rules. Because it makes sense. That's where their comfort is. And it's logical that rules are kind of neat and tidy. It's like, do this or don't do that. So it makes it super clear. It's not ambiguous about it. But it's not always beneficial. And when you break the rules, it typically gives us lots of feelings, not positive feelings of
Not good ones.
us being
Breaking
bad
the
or
law,
off,
breaking the law.
yeah, exactly, or off the wagon, and it forces us to evaluate ourselves and often derails what we actually want to do. So tell us a little bit about how we can use practice and guidelines valuably to get results and not turn them into rules and
Awesome.
fall back into the diet trap.
Yeah, I've totally seen this happen among my clients as well. A lot of people took the habits in my book, Lean Habits, and they talk about them as being rules. We used to have a Facebook group for that book, which we don't now, but people would say like, what's the rule about fats again? I'd be like, it's not a rule. And I can't blame people for doing that because as you said, like that's what we expect. If we have followed diets for a long time, we're looking for a set of rules. Like, give me the commandments I will live by and eat by. Promise me abs, I will do them. But it's not helpful because, as you said, emotionally, we start to feel like our choices are being taken away because we just are constrained by these imperatives. You have to do this and you must not do that. And as soon as you tell us we have to do something, we're like, really? What if I don't want to? And as soon as you tell us we can't do something, we're like, but what if I like that? So how do we, keep these things comfortably in the skill or habit category? I think changing the language is really powerful. I'll often tell people rules, you can identify them by they don't give you a reason. They just tell you what to do or what not to do. And they often will take the form of have to or can't. You have to drive less than 100 kilometers an hour. You can't walk into this building without a shirt on. Those are examples of rules. You have to, you can't. A skill would be I'm working on this behavior, which doesn't mean that I'm going to do it all the time. I might say I'm working on getting to bed before 11, and that's a skill. Saying that I'm working on it is beautiful in a lot of ways because it gives us the flexibility to have some successes and some fails each night of that week. If I'm working on something, I haven't nailed it yet. I'm not perfect at it, but I'm going to progress. If I'm working at something and I keep practicing, the odds are strongly in your favor of improving at it. Another really helpful language switch is to think, I want to do something. So I might say, I want to get in bed before 11 o'clock tonight, instead of, I have to get in bed before 11 o'clock tonight. The have to, as I said, generates a lot more inner rebellion. Whereas I want to kind of reminds you that this is a choice that you're making and that there's a reason that you want to do it. You don't just want to do it because getting in bed before 11 is fun. But if I say, I want to get in bed before 11 tonight because I like getting up easily in the morning as opposed to feeling like I'm dragging myself out of bed in the morning. So reminding yourself of why we want to do something and saying that we have to and that we're working on it are great ways to keep things sort of in like the skill practice mindset instead of turning them into rules. And when we choose not to practice our skill, So the night that I'm like, nope, I'm going to keep reading my phone till 11:30. It's not that I broke a rule. It's just that I didn't improve at that skill that day. And so I don't want to let too many days go by where I'm not practicing my skill or I won't improve at it. But we focus more on the times that you do achieve the practice that you want to reinforce. So the more nights that I get in bed before 11, the more I'm going to get skilled at that
Mhm.
behavior. So was that helpful?
That is helpful. And one of the things that stood out to me that you said that I really love is like when you're practicing a skill, gives you an opportunity for successes and failures. And there's also value in those failures, right? If we take a look and do some sort of reflection on what led to the quote unquote failure, we can probably uncover what led to the failure, right? And use that
Yeah.
information to influence decisions down the road. So we're
Yeah.
learning from failures, right? Is essentially
Absolutely.
what we're saying.
Yeah, in the context of people not going to bed on time because they're reading on their phones, it's common that during the day, they slash I am not taking enough time to break and just do the things that I feel like doing.
Yeah.
And if we're like trying to maximize productivity the entire day, we get to the end of the day and we're like, I just want to read something for fun. I just want to read something like for recreation. So that is an example of where if somebody had a failure to execute successfully their practice for that day, we can look at why and potentially change something upstream so that it's easier to do it.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool.
Good question.
Um, Thanks. The next one is a short question. It's going to seem
Okay.
kind of funny, but um, simply, what else can we learn from hunger? Obvious, when we're hungry, we know it's time to eat. But in our more holistic approach to this, when we realize we're getting hungry before a meal, a few minutes before a meal, or we're not getting hungry and we should be hungry because it's time we normally would eat, or we got hungry long before we planned on eating ahead, there's some valuable information that can be extracted from that hunger.
Totally. I got like 6 ideas all at once and had to start scribbling them down. I was like, "Oh my god."
All right, tell
Okay.
us.
So the first thing I wrote down is reassurance. When we get hungry, it's reassurance to answer that crucial question of how am I doing? If you're doing well with your nutrition plan toward a weight loss goal, you should be getting hungry before each meal. So it's like you're doing good. You're not doing anything wrong. You're eating an appropriate amount. Your body's telling you, hey, do it good, work through that food, ready for more. So I think, hunger actually goes for a lot of people from an intense negative, like, I hate hunger, don't want to feel it, it's terrible, to something that's positive, that's like, all right, some things may not have gone well today, but I got hungry for lunch. So I did well with, my previous few meals. Um, Second, as you kind of alluded to, we can learn about the previous meal based on the timing of hunger when it shows up. So, for example, breakfast to lunch interval. If I get up and I eat X for breakfast, and I'm thinking I want to eat my lunch around 12 or 1, and at 10:30 in the morning, I'm already feeling genuine stomach growling hunger. That hunger is not only telling me I'd prefer you ate a little sooner, it's also telling me, okay, so that breakfast was about X hours breakfast. If I ate at 8 o'clock and 10:30, I'm hungry, 2.5 hours. Um, and so it can help me modify that breakfast to get closer to 12 to 1. So in many instances, if somebody's getting hungry too early before their next meal and they're getting hungry in like the 2 to 3 hour range, I'll encourage them to increase fat if it's less than 15 grams per meal, because fat gives us the longer lasting satiety, the sort of satiety that takes us to 3, 4, 5 hours after a meal. Whereas if you just added more carbs or more fiber to your meal, it wouldn't necessarily get you any further. And if somebody's already at 15-ish grams of fat, then I would increase protein as well. So more fat and more protein tends to be better at delaying the return of hunger after a meal. Um, Other things that we can infer, you can actually, so if you imagine you're going on a vacation to a place where there's no nutrition labels, no calories on menus, and you have no idea what you're eating when it's placed in front of you. You can get a lot of information about if you should be eating a large volume or a small volume of this food, kind of based on your hunger and how long it takes to come back after a meal.
Mm.
So if you are eating some food, and like Indian food, for example, you're in India, you have no idea what they're eating, but it's delicious, so you're enjoying it. And then you're like, wow, I'm not hungry. And it's been 9 hours since I ate that meal. It's probably a higher fat thing, which is neither good nor bad. But you can use that for decision-making purposes to say, okay, I either don't need to eat a large quantity of that dish, or I know if I have it, we've got plenty of hours to go sightseeing before we're going to get hungry again. So that'll be a good thing to pick for then. Um, and the third thing that I think we can learn from hunger is it's a really great indicator of how we're doing sometimes in a stress or illness sense. If you've ever been unwell and lost your appetite, when your appetite comes back, you know you're getting better.
Mm.
You know, like that's a good, healthy sign that's coming back. So, in the same sense, if you're going through emotional turmoil, a divorce, a separation, losing someone you love, your appetite may very well be gone for a long time because of all the emotions. So, physical stress and emotional stress can cause someone to not feel hungry. And so, in that sense, you can appreciate maybe a little more what your body's going through, that you're not just being a wimp, that you're not just letting yourself go if you want to lay in bed more often or cry a bunch. Like, no, your body is actually going through this experience with you along with your mind. So noticing when your appetite is gone and saying like, yeah, I'm still dealing with this thing I'm dealing with, can be helpful. um, and I know if I'm not hungry for a meal and I expect to be, that's often the first sign that I'm getting sick, followed by the sore throat and the runny nose and everything else. But the first thing is like, I'm not hungry.
Hmm.
Something's unusual here. So it can be an indicator of something else being wrong, like that we have a bug or something like that. Not that you can do a whole lot at that point, but
Solid.
so I hope that was helpful.
I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think give an opportunity for people to give some stuff a shot.
Yeah, there's lots of good information that we can get from feeling hunger. So I hope you give it a shot.
Georgie, you delivered as expected.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You always come up with good questions. In 2 weeks, we'll have another round of Ditch
All
Your
right.
Diet.
Can't wait.